map. Create some pressure, strangle the space that they actually have to be able to farm, and then you extend your lead even further based off that.
Yeah. Do you want to explain as well, to those that are relatively new to Dota and tuning in for the first time maybe, a small region or a country that is very insular, such as Australia, you've got a lot of experience of that, meant there's no disrespect at all. When you're in that bubble, you do things that you know you can get away with.
Yes.
And Signify would no doubt do that against another Indian team and walk all over them, right?
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily translate when you play internationally.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Explain why.
I mean, you've just got your set defined metas that are within your little bubbles, right? Like India's got the Indian server to play on. They also play on the Qatar server. They also play on the Southeast Asian server. Same kind of like as Australia. You kind of develop your own habits. And particularly if there's a relatively lower player pool as well, you come up against the same people and you kind of get used to the same types of things. And it's kind of why we can see, not just focusing on an Indian team, you know, there are these teams that come to a tournament that are from the NA region, for example, and then they lose horribly to the CIS region because they're just not used to it. You know, I think adaptability is the biggest component of what drives LAN success.
Okay, let's talk TNC now, Toby. When you looked at their group, I thought, okay, they're in the tougher group. No problem. But they should still have got out of that group in the top 2.
I think so, but at the same time, every time I look at TNC, it's like, oh, great, what a great roster, but what is this roster really doing? I love how you got so many superstar players, but do they all function as 5? I think we've actually had that through a couple of interviews where, you know, you actually need to find that synergy as a 5-man team, and you still need to have a leader behind things. And I don't know, like TNC always kind of feels like sometimes the leader is AFK, and you just don't know where they're going. So it's understandable that this happens to them. It was the same kind of mindset looking at Team, whereas like, you know what, these guys could turn up, they may not turn up. It's very hot and cold.
Yeah, it's not acceptable for a team like TNC though, is it?
No, I mean,
they've brought together the all-star Filipino team. This has to work now. There's no excuses anymore.
I mean, they've had good recent results as well. You know, they won WESG for crying out loud. Granted, it was with Raven instead of Cuckoo, but still, Cuckoo's a very solid player. So just injecting him back into the lineup, having him consistently be there, making some pretty much, I have to compare him as like the eternal envy of the offlane, basically, because they're a really high risk.
I don't know if that's high praise or critique.
Well, it's just a commentary, I guess.
Yeah. Again, I hate using this word because it seems to apply to so many of the teams right now, but it is inconsistency.
Yeah.
Yes. But you're going to have this, especially if you have teams which are not in the upper echelons and feeling like we're really secure in Tier 1. Like Team Secret VP, they rock up, they play their game, they play their style, and if you can try and challenge that, then they'll start to think, okay, maybe I should do something about this. But I find a lot of the teams, as they're trying to reach that point, don't know their own style just yet, or they're still trying to work it out. They're still trying to work out what their place is in the meta. And as you were saying, like, and the tournament goes on. You have to adapt. You have to change. Keen Gaming, did you change? Everyone else seemed to change from day 1 to day 2. Have you done the same thing? No, you haven't. You get knocked down. And this is that problem. It's the bump in the road. You got to know how to weather it.
And I think the big thing that sets the teams like, you know, your Team Secret, your VP apart from the rest, essentially, is just that innovate.
Sure.
Puppy has shown it time and time again. You know, we didn't see Position 5 Brewmaster before Puppy did it. We didn't see Position 5 Legion Commander before Puppy did it.
We haven't seen much of it since either.
No, but it was working for a time. And there was this big period after TI8 where there was no patch. There was absolutely nothing happening. And yet despite that, despite a stale meta, Puppy made changes, and Secret are at the very top of the DPC as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point as well, Toby, isn't it? The best teams not only have figured out how they should play and what their styles and what their strengths and weaknesses are of their individual players and their team, but they've also got version A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. They've got so many different ways of playing if they get caught out in the style that they like to play. Yeah,
it's like when you look at Team Gunner, like we know he's got like 3 to 4 heroes, and then like you ban out 2, you ban out 3, you know where you're going to go and you can counter pick the last one. But when you've got this insane depth, or you just got this player who's just unstoppable on the hero, like the second team pick up Ember, you're already feeling better about their game because you know that's just one of those style of heroes that their team plays really well around. And that's kind of what these teams need. They need something that can like center them, and then they can just expand from that point.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Team, you've obviously got Eternal Envy on it as well. You just think back to the old Cloud9 days where he played an insane Terrorblade. And people were like, just ban it, basically. And they didn't. and then Cloud9 won as a result. And it kind of feels like that same situation with Gunnar in this mid lane. Just ban the Ember Spirit, because Team are so much better when you've got that playmaking potential of Gunnar. And if it's not, then they do drop a level below.
Yeah.
Has anyone stood out for TNC for you at this event? Has someone shown you at least that they're ready to step up and drag their team up with them?
I mean, Gabby's been pretty consistent throughout. You know, there were a couple of times where, in the game where he played Anti-Mage against a Medusa, he popped his BKB, his first 10-second BKB, and then got caught in the Medusa ultimate, got frozen, dead for 90 seconds, after he had been really the one that the remaining four were trying to protect. And so he was doing a good job farming, but for what? You know, and then the game was over essentially at that point.
Yeah, he had a bit of a black moment.
I just want to see Tim's. Like, he was always my Lynch King. He was the one that would start the fights and win them the fights.
The Earth Spirit plays.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was the controller. He was the one that you would follow into battle. And I really want to see him be that shining star for TNC.
Okay. Are you surprised by the hero pool that we've seen here? Because it hasn't been that different from Dream League. It feels like maybe a couple have risen and a couple have fallen, but it doesn't feel too drastically different, does it?
For TNC in particular? I mean, they've tried a few new things. I feel like Batrider's come a bit more into the meta, so they're playing that a little bit more. For some reason, Leshrack's really dropped off, which I'm quite surprised at. People aren't picking Ursa as much as I think that they should. Abaddon's dropped right off, so the drafts become a bit more predictable, and I think it's probably going to be one of the few tournament series where you get that lower overall hero pool that's being chosen from, just because it is an 8-team tournament, and it seems very set as to what the meta is right now.
Yeah, we're 81 picked and banned, which is actually not that bad when you consider how few games we've had. It's quite extraordinary,
I think we hit, like, what was it, like we hit 65 on day one. So yeah, there's a lot to experiment with. I think teams are also still trying to work out, like, what's going to work for them in this current tempo that keeps happening, and how to stop this horrendous fight that happens in the mid game that just ends in a bleed out. So they're still trying to work this out, and I know there's been a lot of discussions up in the talent lounges where you just, the player lounge, which has become talent lounge, where they're just trying to work out. It's like, okay, so what do we actually need to do here? Like, what's good, what's bad? And there's a heavy debate up there, which means, like, the meta is not set, the meta is changing, and that just spells better for everyone watching at home, because it means coming into this main event, there's going to be variety, there's going to be something different. You're not going to start with the same thing when one best of 3 could knock you out.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Well, you've heard what Toby's got to say. You've heard what Dano's got to say. Why don't we check in with our Vodafone view and find out what our boys have got to say?
Hey, everybody. I am here with Blitz Dota. Whoa! Feel the roar of that crowd for the Vodafone view. Blitz, I want to talk to you about this match. What do you think is the most important position? Who are the players we should be looking out for?
I think it's going to be the mid players for both teams. I feel like this is going to be the highest impact role. It's the one where you can control the most. It's where your individual skill can shine a little bit more. So I feel like, for me, the player to watch out for is going to be TNC's Armel. I feel like he's such a highly mechanical skilled mid, especially in Southeast Asia. He hasn't really had a lot of opportunities. Like, we haven't seen TNC do too well. But I feel like this guy, in terms of talent, he's right up there with the mid ones of the world.
Wow, very nice praise. Well, I got to talk about my boy Swifty. One guy in the crowd was very excited. Swifty, as we know, this team hasn't had a win yet, but I wouldn't put that on the back of Swifty. He's been having some pretty standout performances in this one. If you look at most of the games, he has a decent amount of kills. He's making a lot of space. So for sure, if he can manage to win that mid matchup, I think it would give them the pepper that they need to win this bad boy. Agree?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right. Well, there you go. Those are your 2 players to take a look at in this series, brought to you by Vodafone, and we'll head back to the panel.
Thank you very much. Yes, some views from our other boys. As Toby mentioned, in the green room, we chit-chat a lot about stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always nice to hear different views.
It's like, what play is good, who's Mafia, that's
the other thing we do a lot of. Yeah.
You're Mafia.
I was.
You were definitely Mafia last night.
Yeah. Well, I'm
and
sorry.
we got rid of you.
We can't all get cop, so.
Yeah, I
cop.
kind of did lynch him, though.
Yeah. I won us the game, though. That's the important.
Yeah, which is fine. And my theory was right. It was, either he's a cop, and he really is a cop, or he's a mafia.
We have
he can still really get a lot of things done. I think the thing he needs to be mindful of is his hero pool isn't the biggest, but if he gets those key heroes and gets those matchups that he wants, he could be a big linchpin in the way that they can move forward.
Toby?
Yeah, I would like to see it be proved. That's all. Like, I want to see a good performance, especially on a stage like this. Like, as Paul's been definitely saying, like, this is the first time we've had a stage of this size in Mumbai. Are you going to have that experience to weather the expectations of a crowd as well? This is a very new arena for them.
Yeah, we talk about experience a lot and gaining experience, especially for regions that we visit for the first time or countries we visit for the first time where a team is actually able to compete against international teams such as Signify in this one. How do you translate that experience of coming out here, playing in front of a big crowd, into becoming better, getting to the next tier, competing on an international level, perhaps like, say, the Brazilians and the Peruvians have done in the past?
Yeah.
How do you make that transition?
I guess it's just gives you a bit of swagger to your step. You know, it's great to, especially, you know, for a home ground advantage that Signify has, right? To be able to come out, have this crowd cheering for them, it's going to be absolutely amazing to see, you know, the players' reactions. I'm sure there's going to be some nerves there, so it's probably going to be a little bit sloppy at the start of game one, but I think they're really going to get into their groove, and that experience is going to be so valuable for them moving forward.
All right, well, that's an experience that they are going to have. It's an experience that we're going to share as well, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to officially open ESL 1 Mumbai.
Hello, Mumbai! Come on, we got ESL 1 here. You have to be a little more louder than that. Hello, Mumbai! Thank you. My name is Akshat. I'm the founder of Nodwin and ESL India. I have to go ahead and say this. Thank you for coming here. We at ESL honestly believe that we do this for the players, but more importantly, we do this for the crowd out there. So give a big round of applause to every one of you who's out there. We are very privileged to do this. It's taken us about 4.5 years for us to go ahead and get ESL 1 into India. This is the arrival of the big leagues. And you guys are the founders. You guys are the founders of starting something really big in India. You have to tell your friends that you were there for the first ESL 1. You have to take those selfies and you have to tell everyone that esports has arrived in India. And I'm going to ask you for one big holler for our country. We are here. We are starting India's in esports. Give me a hooray. One more time. Give me a hooray. ESL 1 Mumbai, we are open.
So does that play a part in game one, do you think? Or maybe still focused on the screen, you don't hear it, do you? It just kind of goes in and out. And I think that happens with all pro players. When they're on the stage, they kind of, yes, it's nervous, yes, it's exciting, yes, it's emotional, but after a while, you're in game.
Yeah. I mean, it all turns into muscle memory at one point, right? But I think that's where the real experience can come in, because TNC have been in plenty of these situations before. They've been at TI. They've beaten OG at TI. Granted, it was a little bit of a different lineup, but still.
It was a bit of a different lineup, yes.
But still, you know, they have that experience there to be able to do that. Yeah. And so Signify, you know, they have been through a few tournaments locally here. They have gone to a few SEA ones as well. But, you know, this experience, I'm sure, is something that, you know, might cause a few jitters in the first 5 minutes or so. But I think after that, they'll be right into their groove. I
mean, the good news is with Dota, unlike other games where you literally are thrown into game from the second you sit down, you've got the draft. And it's a good 12, 15 minutes of... Okay, let's calm down. Let's get back to where we were. And then you get the jitters and the butterflies come again. So that'll help Toby as well. But as we head towards that draft, field's open right now. What do you want to see from Signify?
What I want to see from Signify is something that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I want to see this crazy, like, oh yeah, we just got this random hero on the off lane. This support, like, it's fine to keep it hidden, but at the end of the day, I want to see 5 heroes that just make sense for how the lanes work, how the matchups work. That's what I want from them, because as you said, like, we've been talking about the emotion the Signify is going to be feeling. It's very difficult to almost impossible to push that out, especially if this is your first time on a stage like this. And we've had great captains like PPD's like, all right, we have to remove all emotion from evil geniuses in order to, like, be focused and actually do our job correctly. And I'm interested to see if they want to go anywhere near that level, and if they can have that confidence from a solid draft at the beginning to put them on that run.
Okay, Dano, how important is simplicity in this first draft for Signify? Is it more important for them to have comfort heroes, easy execution, rather than something that's perhaps more meta-based? Is that more favorable, do you think, for these guys?
I think particularly for game one, that is very important, because they're going to have so many thoughts going on in their head. If you can just simplify things and play some nice, easy Dota, win your lane,
from evil geniuses in order to, like, be focused and actually do our job correctly. And I'm interested to see if they want to go anywhere near that level, and if they can have that confidence from a solid draft at the beginning to put them on that run.
Okay, Dano, how important is simplicity in this first draft for Signify? Is it more important for them to have comfort heroes, easy execution, rather than something that's perhaps more meta-based? Is that more favorable, do you think, for these guys?
I think particularly for game one, that is very important, because they're going to have so many thoughts going on in their head. If you can just simplify things and play some nice, easy Dota, win your lanes, pick a strong early game matchup so you get to that 30-point mark, 30-minute mark rather, and really secure Swifty's lane. I think that'll be the key points that Signify are trying to get for here.
Okay, well, we've got an interesting little shot over the shoulder here to...
We're seeing behind the scenes.
Don't tell anyone.
That was... I saw a hero.
No one mentioned it in the crowd that we can see over the top of their shoulder.
Yeah, we're not going to mention those heroes.
Maybe they won't notice. Ban's already completed. And Shrek first pick for Signify. I like it. They're the only team that played it so far. You mentioned it in the pre-show.
They played it as the position 5 as well.
Yeah, I want to kind of almost see it move into that core, into that 3-roll. It's something that Kyle was talking about a lot, and he made a very great case for it, where it's just like, it's just not powerful enough, and they tried to do the tricky Latrak in the trees to bring down those early tier 1 towers. It felt very, very gimmicky with no real payoff. So for me, like, that's a great hero to start with if it's going to be their core thing to play around, but they've got to make it a core. They've got to make it a reason for it.
Well, the great thing about Signify and how they play Lashrek is that it can be in that 3, 4, or 5 role. So, you know, we've seen No Chance play it. We've seen Mr. Crowley play it. We've seen Negi play it. So they've got that flexibility early on. You don't need to commit super hard to one style, and it leaves it very open. And now we know what TNC are picking with these first 2. Sorry, Toby, you're not going to get the Earth Spirit coming from Tim's standout.
I will not, but I'm fine with the Rubik. The Rubik is always one of these heroes that can play very well. Maybe a little bit more questionable, though, to get him in the very early stage. But it was the thing we saw actually against, I think it was, whose Lashrek was it? When they had a Rubik against it, it's like, okay, we're going to push really hard with this. And then Rubik stole Edict. And you're like, well, there goes my push power. And
it was Signify.
It was actually the Signify game. Yeah, because it was like, okay, we can push, we can have a timing for this. And then the Rubik got a level 3 Edict steal and just pushed straight back again. You're like, well, crap.
Yeah, what do we do now?
Yeah.
But, you know, some meta heroes coming out. I'm surprised to see TNC actually ban out the Troll themselves because they've got some really good records on that Troll for themselves. I think it's a 100% win rate for Gabby.
You might be right.
I'm liking the Ursa pick as well, and banning out one of the big counters for him, the Razor too. So not looking too bad so far for Signify. If they're able to get onto that Doom, not the highest of armor in the game, so you can quickly look to burst him down, particularly if that Leshrac is on point with those split earth stuns.
Also, we've also been flagging as that win condition here, like the damage that doesn't have to like it just keeps going exponentially.
Yeah.
Gives you your options for Roshan. It gives Signify some momentum-based win conditions.
Yeah, I feel like Danog, you've highlighted Ursa a few times as being one of those that's been slept on a little bit.
Yeah, it's just super strong, and it gives you, as Toby said, that extra win condition, but that threat for Roshan, it's always going to be there. The Troll isn't there, so that is another early Roshan taker. But the one thing that we really haven't seen from Signify so far, I don't think they've even attempted Roshan once, so they haven't been in a position to.
Yeah, they haven't had time or the control of the map to do so.
Yeah.
It's always been pretty heavily smacked down.
This gives them that threat, so I'm really liking it. You know, it's very easy. They need to be mindful of not getting a Venomancer picked into them, so it wouldn't surprise me to see if it is banned out right here. You know, could potentially see something like a Viper as well come out, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, you're just worried about the kiting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you combine Veno, then you get the Rubik toss back. It's, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And Doom's a pretty fast hero in his own right as well, so you can't just easily catch up to him. So we'll have to see where they actually do choose to lane this Ursa as well, because it's been played as the position 1 and the position 3. I think as a 3, you can create a bit more space. I really think this game hinges heavily on how Swifty's lane goes. And so if you're able to be a menace as this Ursa, then you have to just pay so much more attention to it because it has that ability to snowball. And if you're given that slight amount of attention to it, then you know, suddenly the mid lane is much freer. You don't have that threat of the rotations coming through from TNC.
Yeah, I'm with you for the whole like Ursa could be in 3, but then I move away from what I kind of wanted, which was Leshrac going in and being because that's the only other core position.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the only way they play that as a core is as a 3. So. Yeah.
I also want to see like a proper disable into their lineup because right now you've got the split earth, but there's no easy instant setup for it. So that's the other side.
I think the Ember's a decent block, decent ban, and a Jakiro pick obviously is gonna please me.
It's gonna do pretty well. I think it's like the Darkseer too. It gives the Ursa a lot more enabling, right? It means there's probably going to be running that position 1 role now, this Ursa. You know, you've got the Surge so that you can get on top of these heroes. Jakiro will melt really quickly. So will the Rubik. Unless TNC are really on point with their CC, I'm really liking it.
Yeah, technically only 1 head on the Jakiro mounts.
True.
Thank you, Jakiro expert. Mr. Richard Attenborough. Well, it seems that Jakiro only 1 head.
Down here with the twin-headed dragon.
Yes, natural habitat.
In the depths of Mumbai.
We could all do a fairly good David Attenborough. That's quite impressive. I think we found out something new about each
I
other.
want to hear your Michael Caine later as well. I think that's a pretty...
My name is Michael Caine.
Very good.
Not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, but you're right. Like the team fights for Signify are looking a hell of a lot better. This does feel like a big like we're gonna ball up as 5 and just run at you. So
which is what we wanted though.
Yeah. It's what we wanted. It's technically what we wanted, but I want to see their timings for like when is the Ursa gonna have enough farm he can actually fight? Sure. Can the Darkseer get his early levels up because these Iron Shells are gonna be really important. So he needs to have those high levels. But he also needs to get the regen items. He needs the mech.
I want a Shadow
This Weaver's a bit annoying though.
I want a Shadow Shaman right now because it gives them that extra push. You've got the Leshrac Edict and the Shadow Shaman wards early on.
Goes it up for Leshrac.
Yep, pairs well with him, and you have that additional 2 types of lockdown for the Weaver. I really think the Shadow Shaman's the pick here. Could be a Lion, but which has seen actually a little bit of a surge of attention at the start.
It's been a little bit. Oh,
I don't mind They are really all in for team fight. Like, this is like I wonder though, does TNC even want to take it? Like if you sit like this and you got a Weaver and a Doom bringing, you know you can play the late game really well. So have you got enough?
Sit outside it, soak it up,
like
wait for it.
The D push right now kind of comes from just the Jakiro as well as the Rubik. Like Weaver has it to some.
You have to expend a lot of resources though to be able to do it.
You do. So I think that's something that TNC has to try and solve with their 5th pick up at the end.
This will be a core Jakiro.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Sorry, complexity.
It's a 1 Weaver, 3 Doom. and then a
Lord for that.
4-5 Jakiro Rubik.
Yeah.
I actually banned the Bounty Hunter as the last one.
And the OD.
That would have given good information at least.
Absolutely. So it's probably going to be this Kunkka, I don't know, mid, like it's a strong mid hero.
Yeah.
Obviously not nearly as much since the change to Tidebringer and the deny potential on it, but
Where else would you plan though?
it could be the 4.
Yeah.
You know,
If you can time the X setup right, but then I'm still feeling like you don't have enough proper stuns coming out from the lineup. Like I'm liking your Lion and Shaman still. Shaman a little bit more, especially when they're going for this team fight into objective.
I feel like you kind of need to play the Kunkka as the mid.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, TNC look like they've already decided what their 5th pick is, regardless of whatever Signify pick here, because they're already getting their headsets on.
I mean, it's the chat with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't me. But the all right, so this is the extra amount of lockdown that I was thinking about. It does give them the pick-off potential. You don't need to, you know, hyper commit. They've got a good way of turning around on you if you did have a Shadow Shaman. So the Jakiro with the Ice Path, the Telekinesis, even the Doom if you wanted to commit it onto the.
They'd already picked that TA well before that Tiny came out.
I think this is going to be a Kunkka mid if that's the case, because Tiny has a horrendous time against the TA, and at least with the Torrent, it's lots of small instances of damage that can break that refraction.
This Tiny actually looks like a support in my mind. Like it's. So yeah, with Kunkka in there, this Signify lineup has ways of working, but it feels really difficult to execute if TNC's positioning is right.
I want to see a few surges on the Tiny, runs to the backline, tosses him back, Ursa bursts him down.
Yeah. That's definitely a dream.
Does it meet the criteria that we set out for game 1 for Signify's winning conditions in terms of simplicity, ease of execution?
I'm liking it a lot better than their group stage game.
Okay, but it doesn't meet.
It doesn't tick that for me.
It's easier than
It's easier, for sure.
It's easier, but I feel like their lineup isn't going to be able to lock down the core heroes. Like I think Weaver's just going to have a field day if they can't kill him. If he time lapses once after you use 2 abilities on him, that fight's over. It's done. And that's where I think Signify is going to have real issues. If it doesn't work with their initiation, it's done.
All right, look, we're in an arena in India, and I wouldn't want to put you on the spot in front of live fans, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
Are you Signify believers?
I'll let Toby answer first.
You know what? I like Signify, and my reputation as a panelist, which is definitely well worthy to me. I gotta say TNC have a better draft and will probably have an easier execution. I'm sorry, India. I'm sorry, Mumbai.
Danog, would you like to get out of this dome alive?
Let's go Signify!
I think Danog has actually figured out how to get out of the dome this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats, because via the MVP by Mercedes-Benz, we are ready for game number 1.
It's rare to be able to go into a series, the opening of a tournament, and say that it feels like this series means so much. You could feel, there's a special kind of energy here in this stadium that you could just feel like this tournament means so much to the fans here, and this game in particular means so much to them. Here with the home team of Signify looking to prove themselves against what is probably one of the biggest giants of Southeast Asia in TNC.
Oh, this would be a big cap for them if they could actually take out TNC. I mean, we saw them play a lot better Dota at COBX. That series that they had against Tigers, you saw that there is talent there, there is skill. I just think they need to go through that rough growing phase of getting crushed repeatedly until you kind of get to that pace. You understand like how fast teams are playing. And, you know, they haven't won a game yet, but this might have been their culmination moment where they're like, well, we understand what sort of Dota we need to play.
Looking at the draft here, do you feel like Signify have given themselves a good shot with this this Kunkka, Darkseer, Ursa?
The way that I always look at it is if you're like a worse skill team, go for the team fight. Just have the team fight ready. Be willing to play these like quick fights, these quick engagements. I don't actually think you should be going for the late game. That used to be the old way of looking at Dota, right? Like if you're the worst team, try to get to the late game and like play a turtle strat. Yeah. But I think it's the opposite. You should play this fast style, try to come out aggressive, swing in.
And in that regard, we do have plenty of team fight. The combination of like Kunkka is one of the best cores to be able to provide that. We've got a fast fighting hero in the Ursa. They've given themselves some pretty good lane setup as well, with the Ursa matched up against the Doom and the Darkseer being able to sit against the tri-lane at top. It feels like they read the lanes correctly, right?
Yeah, for sure. Also, I think Swifty he's so talented. And I'm not just saying that to like pander or anything like that. We saw him when he played against Dendi mid too. Like he held his own, he did great. He had that unorthodox Kunkka build where he went Lotus Orb and he went Spirit Vessel. But it actually ended up paying off before they ended up throwing the game in the end, but
yeah, I remember it was like such an unconventional build, but it actually worked out so well. We've seen Swifty now hit 2 different torrents against Armel. Armel taunting him back, telling him that he's been seeing it coming all the time. CS-wise, who looks like the Templar Assassin is up, though, by a decent chunk, currently sitting at 7-3, while the Kunkka is 6-0.
Yeah, and we saw during when me and Slex were talking,
I gambled, lost. Two-legged abomination. Two-legged abomination.
I'm fine with waiting and all, but let's go!
Get back. Tin. Invisibility. With you, Tiny, I foresee a landslide victory. At last! First blood! Better yours than mine! Back so soon? Stone Fall.
Radiant's middle tower shouldn't have to take this abuse.
Gold and sweet. Over here.
Attack to the impurities.
Denied.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Invisibility.
Denied.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. They're beating on Dire's top tower. Radiant structures have been snow fortified.
Nature's foulest cloister. Amazing times two.
Radiant's middle tower could use some help. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower needs some help. Radiant's top tower has looked better. Are those cracks in Dire's top tower?
A golden thread.
Dire's bottom tower is being chipped away!
Not so safe harbor, eh?
Dire's middle tower is under attack!
Rubik the Unseen?
Someone better help Dire's middle tower! Dire's middle tower isn't going to last long. Dire's top tower is under attack. cracks in Dire's top tower?
It's green.
They're beating on Dire's top tower. Dire's top tower is under attack. It looks like Dire fortified their structures. Radiant's middle tower shouldn't have to take this abuse. Are those cracks in Dire's top tower? Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower has fallen. Not much good's happening to Radiant's bottom tower. Someone better help Dire's middle tower. Dire have fortified their structures.
Bounty!
Radiant's bottom tower's got problems. Dire's middle tower isn't going to last long.
Gold and sweet.
A golden thread.
Radiant's bottom tower's got problems. Not much good's happening to Radiant's bottom tower.
The harder they fall.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. I guess Radiant fortified their structures. Dire's middle tower just went down. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
It's a killing spree! Ownage!
Rewoven.
They're beating on Dire's top tower. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Haste!
That's teamwork in action! Ownage!
A feast for my beetles!
Not much good's happening to Radiant's bottom tower. Radiant's bottom tower's got problems. Spawn to the dark. No.
Ha! Welcome back!
Radiant's middle tower could use some help. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Body stokes the furnace.
Needed a better strategy.
No, take that.
Oh, bounty!
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire snow fortified their structures. Dire's middle tower isn't going to last long. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant have fortified their structures. Radiant's top tower deserves just as much help as bottom. Radiant's top tower has fallen. Someone better help Dire's middle tower. Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower has looked better. Dire's bottom tower always did get short shrift.
Well Invisibility!
Dire's middle tower is under attack! They're beating on Dire's top tower.
Annihilation.
Are those cracks in Dire's top tower? Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is gone. Just a cold fog left behind. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is no more.
Unguarded.
Mega kill!
Fades.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Someone better help Dire's middle tower. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Radiant took down Roshan. I trust there was a good reason.
Step lively now. Your admiral is on board.
Dire's bottom tower is being chipped away! Dire's bottom tower needs some help!
That's some help!
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Golden thread.
I saw that ending from miles. Thanks. Clearly.
Haste!
Dire's structures are fortified. Let all their bottom towers fall. The barracks may be next.
Thanks.
Radiant's top tower has looked better. Radiant's top tower deserves just as much effort.
Team killing spree. 5 times the mega. That's true domination. I'm seeing double. You are too.
Dire's bottom barracks are under attack. Dire's bottom barracks have fallen. Dire's middle tower isn't going to last long. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Dire's middle barracks are under attack. Dire's middle barracks have fallen.
Be afraid to play against TNC.
Pass it back. All right, well, with that, game one is up. We'll have to hear what the panel thinks about Signify and what they need to do to change up their game, give themselves a chance against TNC.
Yes, indeed. We will get some thoughts from our panel members as we welcome you back to the panel here at ESL 1 Mumbai. The longest game so far for Signify in the tournament, so that's one positive. They've also got first blood and a steal of the ages. So I think Danog and Toby, there are some positives to talk about here in this first game.
Oh, definitely. Signify came out and they got to be aggressive. They moved around the map. We actually saw that roaming Tiny do what he needed to do, which was have an impact in the lanes.
Be annoying.
Be annoying. Be annoying, exactly.
Yeah, I think you'll come back in a minute. Don't worry. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. Yeah.
The tossbacks were really doing a lot of work in the early game. You know, it allowed Swifty to have a stage, and then you had the Spirit Vessel, which I thought was a bit of a weird pick coming out for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Spirit Vessel, slightly odd, Toby. You put it on your best player, the one that you want to get the impact.
We were looking for Kunkka to actually have a big impact, to be the big damage, especially when you then saw the Ursa going for this Hand of Midas style of build. It's like, well, you know your heroes. The casters were saying it, like, your heroes are not going to scale just as well. Like you need to find something, and a Hand of Midas kind of almost delays this aggression timing that you're probably searching for. So it didn't make a lot of sense, and they were a long way behind. The other Hand of Midas on the field was like sub 6 minutes on the Weaver off lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you've been muted, Daniel. You're not allowed to talk anymore.
I mean, it's not like
we'll get that fixed hopefully in just a moment. Toby, TNC on the other hand, okay, fine, they've won the first game, all job done, 32-minute game, not a big deal for them, but there were some sloppy errors in this game.
Yeah, there were. Like, I'm fairly certain the Roche Pit is going to be a very big topic of discussion. But I think Cat put it best. Like, TNC were playing with aggression, with confidence, and they just kept running. They didn't care if a hero got picked off. They just kept doing it. So they get one pick off on a support, and that was enough for them to go and do Roshan. Maybe questionable decision, but they wanted to have the momentum. They wanted to have the confidence, and they definitely did that. They paid the price in that situation. But you could definitely understand the logic and the mindset they had coming into this series.
Yeah. Daniel, should we try you again? Not quite. No. Okay. All right. We'll get someone on that. As far as the two players that were picked out by our friends on the Vodafone View, they picked out Armel as the TNC man. How did he stack up in your opinion?
He, like, all of TNC did pretty well. Like, I don't know if you can really say, like, anyone was really massively challenged. Like, the Templar Assassin, had some problems in mid because he got focused. He got picked off twice, I think, actually, in the start of the game. But there's just the good movement that came from Signify. Like, they knew they needed to make sure this TA, who is going to be overwhelming in damage, gets on top. But it wasn't the problem. The problem were the side lanes. The problem was the Darkseer having level 1, 2.5 minutes in, then just consuming a mango to then go jungle. This is your problem. The delayed mech timing, that delayed sustain they needed to have the 5-man team fight to run forward. It just never came online for Signify.
But, as I said at the start of this, more positive.
Positive.
It was more positive than we saw in the group stages. At least, longer game, better fights. They had some chances and opportunities in here as well.
I'm hoping Dano can actually talk now and actually say what he...
Maybe.
Yay! Dano's back. Celebrate. Whoa!
We talk about their strength in these team fights before, right? In their previous series against the Pango, that was essentially an identical fight. But TNC really started coming into their own at that point. Hitting these multiple hero ice pass. They stole the boat. They were able to use that to just increase their sustain by so much. There were a couple of rough patches, particularly for No Chance on that Darkseer, level 1, that deep into it. And I just really didn't like the Spirit Vessel pickup either on the Kunkka. Swifty is, as we said, a top 30
team who was prioritizing leveling Edict. So things were just very, very slow, I think, for Signify, even though they're tiny. Felt like he was creating a very fast tempo in the lanes.
I think they were stuck between a rock and a hard place with how hard the Darkseer's laning was. I think the Ursa was kind of forced to go into the Midas so that someone would have some semblance of farm if the game did to the later stage, right? Because if the Darkseer doesn't have levels, he can't be at these team fights surging the Ursa forward. He needs to focus on actually having space created for him to farm. And so it was very difficult for him to essentially come online. He did get lucky getting a couple of kill streaks go his way, and it was a nice vacuum in the Roche Pit as well, but it was a little bit of a too little too late.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the Kunkka in the mid as well. You've talked about the Spirit Vessel issue as well, but when you saw the heat map, I thought it was interesting that at 20 minutes, he'd hardly crossed the river.
Yeah.
I mean, just had not been on the other side of the map at all. Why was that? And do you feel it kind of contributed to the fact that Signify could just never push?
So they run into the Roche pit. If we take a look at the mini-map, everybody on the Dire team is going to be teleporting in and getting ready for this. They're not going to have the Leshrac, though, which doesn't give a great opportunity. But the cool thing that happened was this really awesome ward that they put in the river. It allowed them to spot TNC moving to the Roche pit to help them know what was going on. So they rotated their heroes in. Kunk had a really nice torrent here from the clip. Oops, I'm sorry. And that spotted Roche's health as well as how they were positioned. Now, the wall of replica is really useful here. That's going to make it so TNC can't group up and dive onto the Roche pit. They basically have to leave because things are going to get really busy if they get vacuumed into like a torrent boat combo. So they've tried to focus everything going into the Roche pit. The Darkseer did a really nice vacuum here to push the TA back out of the pit, but unfortunately Kunkka had actually X'd her. In the end, that was actually a good thing because the boat was able to kill the Roche. It ended up allowing them to do follow-up damage to kill the TA. They grabbed the Aegis, and from there, the rest of the fight is kind of just straightforward. The Darkseer did a really good job constantly surging the Ursa, so even though that he was doomed, he still can get kills because the two supports that are left over can't really do much. And this is the nice advantage that they had by killing the TA at the start of the fight. It was super important because then the Weaver by himself and the Doom couldn't do enough damage.
Thank you very much, Purge. Yes, a perfect example and a breakdown of how Signify played that one really well, actually, despite the fact that the TA got perfectly pushed out, I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers, Purge. Seems good.
We need to have Purge at every major event.
I've already said this many times, but I'm going to repeat it. I could literally put on in the morning when I'm at home Purge doing breakdown videos and just leave them on all day long.
Or even just telling the actual weather.
Or, he's done that before.
Yeah,
he has actually delivered
TI
Seattle
6,
weather in TI and done the actual weather. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Thank you very much, Purge. And obviously, we're going to get more from Kevin throughout the weekend as well as he breaks stuff down. We're going to break down the first game and just finish up on talking about this opening game, which if you've just joined us, you've missed Signify. Picking up a much better defense and a better match all round, really. And then that kind of clip that highlights that, Danog, in that they have got something here. It's not like they're a walkover. You can't just come in here and pay them no respect and expect to just play however you want and play silly. You've got to play well to beat this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just see the stepwise improvement, right? Yep. Like first series against Keen, then Pango, and now against TNC. And honestly, I would probably rate TNC as a more capable team than the Pango. You know, so the fact that they did better against a better quality opposition in their first game in front of all these screaming home fans, you know, with nerves of steel, it seems like it's, you know, a good sign for them, and hopefully those early game jitters will be